It was 2:47 a.m. when Natalie Harper buckled her sleeping newborn into the back seat of her rusted Corolla and drove off into the dark. Rain streaked across her windshield as she left behind the sprawling Virginia estate of billionaire oil tycoon Grant Carrington, and with it, the life she could no longer bear. No one knew she was leaving. Not the housekeepers. Not the security staff. And definitely not Grant, the man whose name carried more weight in boardrooms than in his own home. Her heart thudded in her chest like a warning bell. She had no plan, just a worn diaper bag, $632 in cash, and a baby boy named Ezra who had his father's eyes but none of his cruelty. Natalie had been a nanny in the Carrington household for 3 years before she made the mistake of falling for the wrong son. Grant was charming, older, widowed, and powerful. Their affair had been brief but intense. He promised her the world. But once she got pregnant, everything changed. Coldness. Accusations. A contract that offered hush money in exchange for silence and vanishing. But she didn't want money. She wanted her son to grow up with love, not lawyers. So she disappeared. Natalie rented a basement apartment in a quiet corner of Asheville, North Carolina. She worked double shifts at a diner and cleaned motel rooms on Sundays. She changed her last name, kept her head down, and rarely made friends. Ezra grew. He laughed. He took his first steps between the kitchen sink and the bathroom door. Every night, Natalie whispered promises into his tiny ears. That he was loved. That he would be safe. That she had chosen freedom, not fear. But freedom had its price. Bills piled up. One winter, the heat went out for 2 weeks. She wrapped Ezra in 3 layers and held him close while they slept, shivering. When he got sick, she treated his fevers with thrift store blankets and generic Tylenol. She never told anyone who his father was. Not even the pediatrician. Yet in her heart, Natalie watched the calendar like a shadow. 1 year. That was all she needed to lay low. After that, Grant might finally stop searching. It was a Tuesday. Ordinary until it wasn't. Natalie had left Ezra with her neighbor Maria while she picked up an extra shift. Her phone buzzed during a rush. Unknown number. She ignored it. Then again. Then a voicemail. This is Dr. Lisa Tompkins from St. Joseph's ER. I'm looking for Natalie Harper. It concerns a child named Ezra. Please call back immediately. Natalie's hands went cold. She dropped the tray of drinks and sprinted to the alley behind the diner, fingers trembling as she dialed back. The voice on the other end was calm but urgent. Ezra had collapsed. Seizure. High fever. No known medical history. He was unconscious. When Natalie burst into the hospital, Maria was crying in the waiting room. He just fell over, she sobbed. I didn't know what to do. Doctors surrounded her. They needed a full history. Any genetic conditions. Blood type. Allergies. But Natalie knew nothing. Grant had refused any testing when she was pregnant. Said it wasn't necessary. Then the doctor said something that dropped Natalie to her knees. We're testing for leukemia. She hadn't called Grant. She didn't plan to. But the nurse said they needed genetic matching for potential donors. Time was critical. Ezra was weakening by the hour. So she dialed the number she swore she'd never call again. When Grant answered, there was silence. Then his voice, sharp and confused, Natalie. Your son is in the hospital. He might die. They need your blood. Within 5 hours, Grant's private jet landed in Asheville. He walked into the pediatric ICU in a tailored suit, eyes scanning for the boy he hadn't known existed. When he saw Ezra, pale and small beneath a tangle of 4 lines, something broke inside him. He didn't speak to Natalie at first. Just held the boy's tiny hand. The tests came back. Ezra didn't have leukemia, but he had an aggressive immune disorder that required a marrow transplant. Grant was a partial match. Not ideal, but better than nothing. Treatment could start. Natalie stayed by Ezra's side, refusing to leave even as Grant offered her a suite in the best hotel. They spoke little. But late one night, while Ezra slept, she whispered, I didn't want to keep him from you. I just wanted to keep him safe. Grant nodded, but his jaw clenched. Safe from me. Ezra pulled through. Slowly, steadily. Weeks passed. Grant extended his stay. He stopped taking calls from oil magnates and lawyers. Instead, he brought Ezra puzzles and juice boxes. He brought Natalie coffee. He brought apologies. I was cruel, he said one evening. I was scared. I lost my wife and thought I couldn't lose control again. Natalie listened. Not ready to forgive, but no longer flinching when he reached for her hand. Eventually, the hospital released Ezra. Grant offered them a home, again. But this time, not under contracts or behind iron gates. No nannies. No secrets. Just you, me, and him. As equals. Natalie said no. At first. But Grant didn't stop showing up. Grocery runs. Daycare drop-offs. Little moments that built something real. 6 months later, Ezra ran to him at the park, arms open, shouting, "Daddy." Natalie watched from the bench, tears in her eyes. Some stories don't start at the beginning. Some start when you get the call that changes everything. And some, like this one, start again, when love finally shows up ready to stay.